Well, time to try and confirm our dominance with another Irish Cup win and domestic clean sweep. Then it's all attention to a season review ahead of what should be our biggest ever summer in the transfer window. Yes, hello and welcome along to part 159 of this Build a Nation story, Lifting Spirits with me, Daniel. We are back today having wrapped up the title with a perfect record in the final 5 games. We finished 5 points clear of Linfield, who to be fair, also broke the 100 mark as well. But today we face them in an Irish Cup final as we try and complete the set. The Northern Irish coefficient is on the move. We are starting to see that teams may be able to progress. It may be held back by the fact that Coleraine have managed to drop to 5th this year. If you're looking forward to seeing how we do in this final and our preparations for the summer, which I'm planning to be our final big push of this save. We mentioned it a few times this season in the comments, the comparisons to Bangor City, which we'll talk about a little bit, and why we're maybe not so far ahead as a club, even though the nation is a bit further along. So if you're looking forward to all of that, then please do put a thumbs up on it. We're going to head straight into football in action, but quickly, let me show you the schedule. We know obviously we've got Lee O'Donnell coming in this summer. There's another scout potentially coming in as well. But if we go through the schedule and the results, you were with me for Livingston and Larne. We've now won 5 league games in a row and mercifully finally kept a clean sheet in the last one of them. But we started the post-split fixtures with a 4-1 win at Glentoran. 2 for Howard, 1 for Griffiths and an own goal. Same result against Larne with Gash, Scully and a Misselidis brace. A 2-1 win against Linfield with Merivale, Austin and Scully. A very close game again though. A 3-1 win against Coleraine. 2 for Scully, 1 for Merivale, Austin. And Jordan Howard got a brace in the last one, as well as Morgan Griffiths, who continues to deliver despite no longer being at the quality. Today though, it is Linfield in the Irish Cup final. I want to get through that as quickly as possible because then we can talk about the plans for the summer, which are going to be pretty big. Let's go and get through to the team selection. Back to our first team for this one. Back in a moment to run through the team once I've adjusted what our assistant's gone for. Well, here is the side looking to assert domestic dominance, and there's going to be a few final appearances in this team, I'm afraid. Jonathan Morrison, or Jim as he's affectionately known, will probably be leaving the club this summer. As we mentioned before and we'll allude to later, we only get 12 non-homegrown slots in this squad, and with a good goalkeeper in now in Morgan Hassin, who fits that criteria, it's probably not worth keeping a non-homegrown number 1. We've got Reid and Stowder fullbacks with Davis and Bird at centre-half, Gash and Bayavang the midfield too. We're waiting for that big offer from Jordan Gash. If we get it, he probably will leave the club. Cowan on the right will be 30 when the next season starts. We've got good replacements coming through and there's quality available in the window. He may be off as well. And Merivale, Austin, Vladimir, who plays for the final time before joining Liverpool, and Mark Scully, 74 goals through the middle up front. That boy is going nowhere. Let's go and get into this one today. Lisburn Distillery v Linfield. We are starting to become the dominant, irresistible force in Northern Ireland. They do sometimes give us a bit of a fright in some of these finals, and sometimes they nick them as we've seen before. Cash if beaten, our former man starts. Gavin Holmes on the other side has become brilliant. Rowley and Fazakali, both very good players. And to be fair, it's a good Linfield team. I'm really hoping they'll go big again this summer. They had the Europa money again. They've got guaranteed group stage football next year too. I really need them to take advantage. The crowds are going up. I'm hoping both of our reputations will go up to 3-star this summer. And maybe the league will push on as well. We'll wait and find out. But for now, it's into the first half at Windsor Park. Almost a home game for the cup final for Linfield, but we're not going to worry about that. It has started fairly quietly, but Linfield are now on the ball. As Vargas to Rowley gives it away. Bayavang doing really well in the middle. Gash picks it up, big ball through to Scully. He's just got too much physically, but not the quality to finish. Brooks, our international right back, who's probably going to be overtaken by Freeman soon, is the man who clears it away. 15 gone, it's 0-0. To be fair, neither side's created much. As Vladimir has got a corner kick on the right, we're now into the 22nd minute, and Linfield not able to deal with it. Oh, that's really poor. It's Kashif Beaton, our former player, who, since he's left us, has scored a fair few goals and ruined a fair few games for us. But this time he misses a header. Miles Stout, the unlikely scorer. And Lisburn Distillery 1-0 up in the cup final. It's a big mistake that's done it, as Williams goes for the big ball forward, headed away by Davis. Rowley picks it up for Linfield though, knocks it down the right to Holmes. He's a quality player now, gets it back to Brooks. Into the box, the international finds Beaton, almost makes amends immediately. Clear to the edge of the box to Vazakali and Vargas, who's great going forward. Gets to the byline, back to Beaton. And deflected over the bar by some brilliant Bird defending. We know that boy's got quality, and to be fair, at this end of the pitch, he's a threat. He's now taking the corner too. Beaten in, Scully heads away. Can't get it over the 6'8" front man, as Meraval Austin brings it clear. Big switch to Vladimir, space to run into. We know the quality he's got, and he's going to be so hard to replace. He's the best player at the club, but we've got Paleka coming back. We've got Vucinic coming back. We're going to be building a very good team here, as Cowan gives it back to Reed. Finds Bayavang. Out to Cowan again. Down the line it goes. Meraval Austin will chase. Well dealt with by Williams, who goes back to his keeper. It's a big ball over the top, which Mackie will chase. Imagine if we'd signed him that 18 months ago when we were looking. Finds Stow on the left-hand side. Options down the line. Can't find them. Just carries it himself. Gets to the byline. Back to Bayavang. Chance to cross. Scully's up. Great header. Glanced it towards the far post. And it's just off the top of the crossbar as it goes over. But we're straight back on the front foot with Gavin Reed. We're looking good now, as Cowan plays a 1-2 with him. Reed into Bird. It's going to be the first time next year we have a really new look team for a long time, and I want to salute a lot of these legends, but we know again that we are making the next big upgrade, as Beaton gets it on the left to Vargas. Options down the line, plays him in Beaton, and this is a threat for Linfield. Cross the box to Mackie, it's 1-1. Our former player and our international star combine. And that is the quality that Linfield still have. It's the thing we never had in the Welsh League with Bangor City 2 years ago. We never had a side that could compete this way with us domestically, even 15 years in. And Lisburn Distillery, pegged back at the break, Linfield scoring a crucial goal, and it's that magic they've got in the team. And they've got a free kick in the first minute of the second half. We could be in trouble here. Gavin Holmes going to take it. Oh, it's a good save. Can't lie to you, I thought it was in. Jonathan Morrison, does very well to get across. And he tips it behind, but Beaton will take the corner. In-swinger this time, Black's up. Heads it over the bar. Not a good start to the half. We could be in trouble in this game. It's levelled up on the stats, on the expected goals too. We've had more of the ball, but that's the only difference. We're just over 25 to go, and I think we're on the realms of having to make changes here, as Gash has given the ball away in midfield to Beaton. Rowley chips it forward to Mackie. Oh, that's awful. I mean, he's hit the post with a shot. We've got away with one. But that is awful from Bird. Vladimir's at the other end with the corner. Do we get away with it? We really do, and his centre-half partner has bailed him out. Davis up at the back post, scores a big header there. He doesn't score many goals, but they're normally crucial ones. And that one might win us the Irish Cup. We're going to make some changes because Reed has struggled at right back with Beaton. Going to bring Freeman on, who physically will hopefully deal with it better. I'm going to take Cowan off on the right for... I'm not even sure who now. I might have to make all four because I look going forward there. Vladimir's struggling physically and the other three haven't played that well. So Elliott, Lonsdale, Misselidis and Howard. They will all come on for the final 25 minutes. 2-1 to Lisburn Distillery. It's been a very even game. And Linfield, arguably, would feel they deserve to be level here. In fact, I don't think there's much argument to it, but Beaton has now gone off. I'm not sure if Mackie's still on. He is. Challenging for the header there. We have got to hold on as Vargas comes down the left. Gives it to Williams. It's good football again. Linfield committing players forward. And Brown knocks it over the top to Holmes. We've been beaten. Paul Elliott does well with it. Not sure why he's basically centre-half there. As Misselidis away to Gash and Lonsdale. Gash again carries it inside to Freeman. Down the line is Elliott. He can run at the defence here. Chooses not to. Plays Gash and Lonsdale. Beats his man with a wonderful touch. And the shot's deflected straight at the keeper. It's good football to be fair, but this is an end-to-end game. This is not dominance from Distillery. Linfield have been a lot better this year. But can they push on this summer? That's going to be the big thing. And can we make our new look side as consistent next season? As Misselidis cuts in from the left. Poor ball again. Martin gets there. In our Northern Ireland squad. Can't start for Linfield. Finds Stout and Bayavang. Up to Lonsdale, who can carry it. Has options to his left, but goes right and gives the ball away. Linfield's right is the stronger area. Why go into it? As Williams gets it out to Vargas. He carries it down the left-hand side. Again, it's turning into such an end-to-end game. Freeman nicks it, and now we're running the other end. Lonsdale down the right. There's options in the middle. Howard's offside, but who else is there? Missalidis is there. And he finally puts the game to bed. He's got his chicken dance out. There's 8 minutes to go. Do you know what? We've got away with one here. We have not deserved to win this in 90 minutes, and we're now 3-1 up. That's the ruthless edge we've got. 5 subs that are as good as Beaton and Mackey, whereas they're bringing on less good players, and that is the only difference between these sides. 3-1 is the win. We win the Northern Irish Cup. We'll spare you the confetti this time, but it is a big performance, a big win, but for a lot of these guys, it's a goodbye. Let's go and get ahead to the squad screen, and I'm going to show you what I intend to do this summer. Well, I've just noticed something funny here, actually. We've been awarded 112 grand for beating Linfield in the Irish Cup final. And we got another 45 grand for playing in it. So what's that? 157 grand. Which is the least we've picked up for winning any competition this year. I include in that the Steel and Sons Cup, which the third tier teams and our reserves play in. But we've only picked up 157 grand, which given the rises in other prize money does seem a little bit odd. We're going to ignore some of the usual end of season stuff now though, because I'm going to show you very quickly the coefficient and then what I plan to do this summer, because I want it to be that big push. And we'll talk about the comparisons with Bangor City, because we are 14th now in the rankings for the club coefficients. That's for this season, which means that we're essentially going to have an extra team later on in qualifying. What it means for the next year though, as we're due to go up to 11th, is that we will get into the playoff for the Champions League automatically. The league path, unfortunately, doesn't change at that stage, but it does also mean that we'll have a team in Europa League third round qualifying rather than second, and that from the year after, we'll have a team in third round Europa Conference qualifying, meaning they only need to win 2 ties rather than 3. So that's progress on the coefficient front. We're due to go up to 11th this year, but this is where things change, because we're going to talk about which players we probably have to move on this summer, what we're going to do with the 12 non-homegrown slots, and what areas we're going to sacrifice for that. Now, we already talked a little bit pre-match about goalkeeper, because we have got a very competitive Northern Irish goalkeeper. He's our number 1 for the international team. He's a good keeper. He's not quite as good as Morrison, but he's homegrown in the nation, which means he's one of those 8 other players. And if we can get first team level players of that quality, then brilliant. We're also fortunate now that we've bought through a few players who are homegrown at the club and don't have to be registered. So we're talking about the likes of Stow, Reed, McKenzie, Griffiths, etc. They're all players who can contribute to the squad and don't have to be registered for the domestic league. So there's positives. But we still only have 12 players we can register who are not homegrown at the club or nation. So we've got to be careful with how we use that, and we've got to be wise. Now, we've had to use a goalkeeper slot before, but Morrison can go now and bring in some money. And we've also got this opportunity with some players coming towards the end of their 20s, like Cowan, like Elliott, etc. And we've also got the opportunity with some people unhappy to try and move them on. We are finally at the stage, which took a bit longer here than with Bangor, where we've got the chance now to sell players for good money. We're starting to get those offers of 4, 5, 6, 7 million pound even. And if we can get some average squad players out for that, then brilliant. We've got to find quality to replace them, but with what we've seen in the last year, there's suggestions we're going to find that now. We're not at a stage where we can sign ready-made players, and I know I've taken criticism for it, but we just can't offer the wages or the transfer fees that make a difference. You can see now we've only got 3 million of our transfer budget remaining, and we'll talk about why it's lower in a minute too, but Leo O'Donnell is pre-agreed, he's 18, and this is sort of going to be my strategy. We have been scouting the world for brilliant under-21s, and I want to bring them in, except that for a year or two, it's going to take them a bit to settle in, but that we should still win the league and most other competitions, still compete as we are in Europe. But then 2 or 3 years down the line, for the final 2 to 3 seasons of this save, we will have a brilliant team that has a genuine chance of winning something at a European level. And Leo O'Donnell, I believe, is part of that. We also look at some of the preparation we've done for that this season with Nenad Paleka, who is an 18-year-old doing really well away at Osijek, and Josip Vucinic, who we signed in January. he's on the next gen top 50 list. So there are 3 players of genuine star quality for the future. Add to that Matthew Freeman, who is the one and only gem for our youth academy. He's going to be another one. That's 4 players already, and all of them will become homegrown at the club, which is another benefit, because then for those final 2 or 3 years, we can go and sign another 7 or 8 superstars, or certainly at least those 4, where the squad slots are going to be taken. So I am thinking about this in a structure for 2 spells, as to make those transfers for the big push now, but to get them homegrown in 2 or 3 years so we can then sign some superstars for that final push in 2 years' time. I'm looking at it and thinking, yes, there's some solid squad players that can help us out, but there's probably going to be 6 or 7 outs from this team this summer. I've mentioned Gash if we get the right offer. I look at Stephen Cowan, who for me is almost a certainty. We know we're losing Vladimir. We have to look at some of those with an injury record, like Meraval Austin. Are they going to be good enough? And generally, it's replacing those who are starting now with big upgrades, which we've not been able to do before. We've not been able to scout and find players who are either big upgrades now or big upgrades for the future. We've seen it even with Vladimir. We saw it before with Owen Kidd. We've not got the club reputation that we had at Bangor. And that means that we're not able to bring in players who are going to be superstars of the future because they're just not interested in joining. We always know that the ones from the top clubs are out of reach because the financials are just impossible. We then look at the other side of it and say, well, actually, we're going to scout players from the likes of Croatia, Denmark, whatever. But bar Bayavang, we've not really been able to bring them in. Vladimir's not been interested in discussing terms. I mean, Kidd wasn't interested in discussing terms. And we've had that with 15, 20, 25 other players we've scouted who we could have got in within our transfer and wage budget. So that's the biggest frustration here. And here's the reason why. Our club reputation is only actually 3-star now. And it's only just gone to 3-star as well. Linfield, the only other club in the nation at that level. But because the nation's been more competitive, don't forget in the Bangor save, we won every title from the 4th season onwards. Every single one. Because TNS just didn't compete. And that meant that by the 10th season, we were in the Champions League, we were by far the biggest draw in the nation, and obviously the homegrown rules were nowhere near as restrictive there either. So by the time we got to this point in the save at 15 years, with Bangor City, even though we hadn't been getting through most of the time, or we'd been dropping into the Europa League, Europa Conference, whatever, we built up 150 million quid. So by that stage, we could go out and afford anyone because we were getting 50, 60 million pound transfer budgets. Here, this was only our 2nd season in a Champions League group stage. People need to remember that. We've only won the league 4 times, this being the 5th season we've done so. And Linfield, as you saw in that cup final and by the league table, are still a genuine threat. So we are having to play strong teams in some of the league games as well. So it's a very different fact in this save, and it's almost a completely different universe to that Bangor City one in FM21, because the fact that the nation has been so much more competitive has made the save much more enjoyable for me when going through all those domestic fixtures. But it does mean that the club has grown at a slower level. Now, I've got the feeling that when the club starts to grow massively, the nation will come with it this time, and I'll be proven right or wrong on that. But it is different to the Bangor save for that reason. We've not been able to build up the money, the Champions League reputation, the club reputation, and in turn the league reputation to take this nation and the club in particular onto the next level. But we've got other clubs that are very close to us, and Linfield on reputation front still ahead of us. Don't forget, at this stage of the save in the Bangor City one, we couldn't even loan players to TNS because their reputation was so far behind us. Here, Linfield are bidding £2 million and signing our players. So it's that balance between, yes, we've now got a really competitive nation and 2 or 3 teams who are genuinely good in Europe, but on the club front, we've grown slower as a result. It's that little trade-off. But with that 2nd season of Champions League money now, we have reached the next level. We've got 45 million in the bank, and we are at that stage, as I mentioned before, where, yes, we're signing these Croatians and the American centre-half for 4, 5, 6 million, but we should be able to recoup that money, or at least half of it now when selling people, which is going to make a big difference to this save. So let me know how you think the next few years are going to go. I plan to bring in 4 or 5 stars like O'Donnell, like Vucinic this summer, and I hope we can get it done. The big thing for us next season is how many superstars are going to join the club, and what are Linfield going to do in the transfer window after another good season. They haven't got too much agreed at the moment. If I take you over to see, The future transfers they've got in at the moment is just Jerry Lawrence from Hull, who is a good player, but at 33 is very much just filling the squad for them. So we'll wait and watch that with interest. It's going to be a very intriguing summer. I plan for it to be a busy one, and I've got a lot of work to do because I'm recording this on Saturday morning and I need to get the video out by the middle of next week. If you're looking forward to seeing what stars we bring in, which players leave the club, and what else happens across the nation, then please do put a thumbs up on the video. Let me know if you agree with my assessment and whether you've had any experiences like this in the Builder Nation, where the nation being so competitive has actually slowed down your club's progress. This is the first time we've reached the stage we got to almost in season 7 or 8 at Bangor, where we were dominating the nation in everything. But even in that cup final, as you saw, Linfield are still a threat. I probably prefer it that way, but ultimately it does stop us from reaching our end goal, and Linfield have already ruined it by winning a European trophy. We're going to try and do the same though. If you want to stay up to date and find out if we can build the squad to do it, subscribe and turn that notification bell on. We'll be back in a couple of days' time with another big episode from this one. Between now and then, though, we've got a crucial episode from the Bristol City save tomorrow. If you like seeing struggle, you like seeing failure, we're getting a bit too successful here for your liking. Well, tomorrow's video's for you, I can assure you of that. There's also loads of clips from the football games I've been to over the weekend in the eye above, the podcast channel, the Twitch channel, and the top threes as well. But thank you very much for joining me as always. Your support is hugely appreciated. I'll see you back here next time for a very big summer transfer window.